Welcome to the Awakened Impact podcast, where the new paradigm starts here. I'm your host, Kimberly Lebbing, master coach, trainer, and creator of the Paradigm Shift Method. In each episode, you'll hear real, unfiltered conversations with soul-led entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers here to create lasting change. If you're here to lead with purpose, embody your gifts, and create an impact from the inside out, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Awakened Impact podcast. I'm Kimberly Lebbing, your host, and today I'm excited to bring on Amanda Brooks. Amanda is an energy alignment mentor and transformational guide with over 3 decades of experience helping people heal from the inside out. From her early days as a chiropractor to her deep soul work today, Amanda supports women and conscious leaders to release old emotional baggage, clear inherited patterns, and finally feel aligned in their body, their mind, their home, and their purpose. With a grounded, no fluff approach to energy healing, Amanda combines spiritual tools, intuitive insight, practical support to help people feel lighter, calmer, and more like themselves again. Whether you're navigating burnout, big life changes, or simply feeling off, her work brings you back into energetic flow and forward momentum. And I'm so excited to have her on today. Welcome, Amanda.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly, for inviting me here.
I was excited about this conversation and our time together and just sharing your experience with the world. I'd love to start a little bit about your journey. I know you've got over 30 years from chiropractic work to what you're doing now in energy healing. Can you share maybe a pivotal moment that led you into this more intuitive transformational path?
Yeah, so I mean, ever since I was very small, I'd been able to feel and sense where people's blocks were. I just didn't really know how to deal with it. Through a couple of car accidents where I was a passenger both times, I ended up in so much pain and discomfort, and I was having injections in the spine. I was in plaster casts, all sorts of different things. And I was only 23, 24. I really wasn't very old, and it was quite intense. And through that, I went to a chiropractor, and she said, "I really think you'd be good at this." And I was like, "Really?" Because at that point, I was still feeling a lot of pain and discomfort. But through her mentorship, I did train. And as soon as I started to put my hands on people, up came the gifts even more intensely. Once I'd done the 4 years training and I was working with people, I couldn't understand why they were still having the pain, even though structurally things were in alignment. And that's really where my journey then went, because I was like, well, what is it? And I happened to go on a kinesiology course and the teacher treated me and I felt like I'd come home. I couldn't really
Mm.
describe it any other way. I just couldn't wait to get back to the clinic so that I could call in at these people that I was not really getting where I wanted to with them. Just say, can you let me try this? And then every single one of them shifted because we were releasing like old emotions that were caught up in the tissues. We were releasing heavy metal toxicity from different things that they'd been using over. And so that was back in 93. So, yes, a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
And literally from there, I did another 7 years training in kinesiology. So I just kept going. And then it was like moving on from there. Well, what else is it that can hold people back? And literally in the end, I was getting so many kinesiology clients that I retired as a chiropractor back in the early 2000s because most of my practice was literally the kinesiology, and I'd become a mentor in a chiropractic school. I'd done so many of those different aspects and been teaching, and even got a teaching award in 2014, which was amazing and so unexpected. But I always felt like there's more to the story. There's more to the story. And I think that never ending looking for what's the pattern for different people has what's inspired me really to keep going. And sometimes I think probably I know enough. It's just that I'm like, is there something else I need to know? Which is how I came across yourself.
Yes, yes, that's how we met.
Yeah.
And I concur because I feel like I'm the same way. Like that's why I took thousands of hours in neuroscience because I was like, well, is there more? Well, how does this person do it? Literally, I love learning. And I think curiosity is a good thing. And I know that a lot of our listeners are probably in that space too. So I love that about you and hearing your journey because you're right. I know for me, I didn't understand. And I'm betting a lot of people don't understand how emotions really affect the body and that it really starts there.
Absolutely. But that's one of the things that I love when I'm working is I explain how and why the body might have done it. Because sometimes we don't know. We don't know. We're like sponges and, we can go into a room and we'll think, oh, I love it in here, or oh, I can't wait to get out. Each time our body's picking up information. And when it doesn't really understand it, it stores it in our energy field. And in time, that then becomes a physical imbalance. So most of our physical ailments have already started out in the energy field.
Mm.
And we need to fix isn't the right word, but we need to rebalance on the energy level as well as the physical level. And that's where I love the paradigm shift, because the way I'm seeing that is you're doing it on the energetic level, but you're also rewiring the neurons in the brain. So to me, it's got like the physical component and the energetic. And so it's to me like it works in so well with everything else I do.
Yes. Yeah. So that being said, because you did bring it up and to our listeners, Amanda completed our certification a few months ago and has just beautifully incorporated into her business. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you've incorporated that. Like what I know you said it was the missing piece. I don't know if you said that, but that's what I'm that's what I'm feeling from you is that what made you feel like it was the missing piece?
I think because within the training, I was learning like all the different ways that you can find out information. I've always been intuitive, but it opened up the intuition into a way that was much more structured for me, which meant I wasn't being bombarded with messages left, right, and center. It was like the information was coming in a more aligned way for me to be able to work with it. And where I found is that, so even if I'm doing I'm going to say an ordinary session that's not the paradigm shift, I can hear my brain going, oh, ask something in a certain way, and then let's explore that. But then I'm doing just paradigm shift, I say just, but the whole package of that with certain clients and the shifts within them has been so much quicker
Mm.
doing the 1 hour sessions that I had been doing. And, so for example, one of the ladies, she's been really poorly for many years. And even though she's feeling better, she was apprehensive about using her energy, about doing something in case she got tired. And it was restricting her. And I thought, let's have a go. Let's see. Because I was a bit like, well, I don't really know because this didn't seem to kind of fit into any of the other pieces. But she was really drawn to the paradigm shift that I told her about. Anyway, we did it. And even just the prep session, just that 1 hour session, the next day she was doing things differently. He then did the 4 hour. She was saying, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm just getting out of bed. I'm not even lying there thinking about what I've got to do for the day. I'm just out. I'm out running. I'm doing all these things and I'm really loving life. And when I left a message for her a couple of weeks ago, so it's been a couple of months after she had the session, she's going, Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so busy running around doing this and this, and I'm having a great time. All's well, thanks. Uh, Great. And that's so for me, bringing that aspect in, it's not necessarily that it's going to be every single person that would need in that depth and in that way. But what I have noticed, and I've mentioned to you before, is every single one of them have started to eat differently.
I remember you saying that. I actually was talking about that in one of our courses with one of our new students because I just thought that was so profound. Tell us about that a little bit.
But all the ones clients that I've worked with, they've said to me, and I've not told any of them what because obviously I didn't know. And they've gone, it's really weird, but I've started cooking different things and I've been taking more care over it. And their partners are going, it's really good. Because they're like really happy because we time to get into routines. And I've been thinking about it because they were all saying the same thing. And I think it's because they're actually prioritizing themselves, which is actually giving them more focus outwardly because they've focusing on themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because when the inner alignment is lining up, it just makes sense because, of course, the behaviors change. This is one of the reasons I love this work is there's always a surprise element of what they notice that maybe you wouldn't have noticed. I remember there was a client that I had who always slept with a weighted blanket.
Mm.
And the first night after her paradigm shift method session, she said she threw it off. She didn't need her security blanket anymore. So it's interesting how this deep work can affect other people in different ways. So I want to shift back to you a little bit and the work that you are doing. How do you see it working with how you hold space for others?
So how it's showing up in a sense for me, for the paradigm shift, it isn't, as I say, for every single client, but it is for the ones where they have felt really stuck, where they've tried everything, where I am looking at bringing it in even more so is because I certified in the Akashic Records back in 2016.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I loved it and I did really well in the exams and had some great case studies, but I felt really quite exhausted after doing them. I have to say,
Mm.
really exhausted. When I was going through the training with you, I noticed in my clients the Akashic Records was coming up again and again and again. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because that's where you're holding all the information. And I can see how that fits in with the paradigm shift. And so, how I've been looking at everything from working is that if I do the Akashic Records and then bring the paradigm shift in, you've got what the soul has been through, and then you can do the rewiring with more ease and grace so that people feel really truly supported and they get that massive shift and change, which is lasting. I know within the paradigm shift that we bring in the new behavior, which is absolutely, you're right, very much fun. But the thing is that people can fall back into old patterns, old ways of behaving and interacting. And that's the bit that I love about the paradigm shift. You can do that piece, whereas the Akashic Records on its own, you can change things, but the person has to really consciously be doing something. You add in the paradigm shift to it, and you've got like this, it's change on steroids.
Yes,
That's
I
what it
love it.
feels like. Yeah.
Change on steroids. I absolutely love it. And I don't know that much about Akashic Records. The little bit that I know, I can totally see how it would really fit beautifully with this work because it feels like it's the next step to take it to the next level. is what I feel like, where, like you said, the conscious stage is good, but it takes a long time. It takes,
Exactly.
yeah, it takes a really long time for all that to set in. That's good. Okay. So I know you're known for helping women, conscious leaders realign who they truly are. I want to ask, what does alignment mean to you, like on a practical day to day level?
So
Big question.
here's the alignment is about us being aligned in as many ways as possible during the day. Now, we all have jobs and things, and it doesn't mean that they have to make our hearts sing, because sometimes you have a job that just brings in what is needed. But what I say is, even if you're doing something 8, 9 hours of the day that you're not really enjoying, as long as outside of that, you can have something that makes your heart sing, something that brings you joy, even if it's just dancing to a piece of music while the kettle is boiling or something like that, that helps the alignment. So it isn't about, oh, you have to sit there and be Zen all the time, because life is not like that. It is more about having that sense of joy, that sense of purpose. And that, as I say, doesn't mean that everything has to be hunky dory in one's life.
Mm.
That recognizing those aspects where you can bring something in that helps to counterbalance all the other parts of life. Because how boring in one way would it be if everything was just perfect every moment of the day? And I know that sounds a funny thing to say, but I know people that have had a goal. They get the goal, but they're not happy,
Yes.
because it isn't the goal that makes them happy. It's what's inside, what's going on inside. So I think this is where the chiropractic part comes in as well. It's about, as long as everything is aligned, your spirit, your emotions, and your physical body, then yes, you can be poorly. Yes, you can have a rubbish relationship, but it isn't the thing that rules your life.
Yes.
And so to me, the alignment is about having that alignment no matter what else is going on, finding that one thing in that day. Even sometimes I will go onto YouTube and I will play babies giggling for a minute, because you cannot watch them without, even the most dour person I've ever met couldn't resist having a giggle.
Yes. I love it.
The alignment is about all of that, but it's also about where we're living,
Mm.
who we're surrounding ourselves with. That doesn't mean you get rid of your housemates or your house or anything like that. But again, it is about having everything. Does your space feel good? If it doesn't, what can you bring in? Is it an oil that you can bring in? Is it saging the room? Is it opening the windows? I mean, lots of people don't open the windows anymore.
You're right.
Like, there's no movement of energy. So yeah, so for me, alignment is all of that. It's every aspect. And it's about acknowledging we are human beings. We are not here to sit just, doing Zen things. We are here to interact with people, to be part of the world, no matter how it feels sometimes.
Beautiful advice, beautiful outlook. And it's so true. Like we need to embrace all of it. Yeah.
But we're
Beautiful.
so often, aren't we, trying to push one piece away because we don't like that piece, that we end up focusing on that piece that we don't like.
That's exactly right. And that's honestly, that's just how your mind works. And I know you know this, like you got to focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. But that is exactly how it works. We end up focusing in on what we don't want. And then we attract more of what we don't want.
And that's the other part about emotions and old events. If they're sitting in our energy field, they act like satellites and magnets. So the universe goes, oh, you want more of that? No, 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 we don't. But we haven't dealt with it. So the universe keeps saying, well, I'm going to keep showing you it until you deal with it.
So true. It is. It's the greatest teacher, really. And, that's why we see people in relationships over and over again, different persons, same pattern happens over and over again, or jobs they don't like, or circumstances. I know early in my career, I'd have the same different careers, like different online businesses, and the same thing coming up, the same problem because it was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You follow you is what they say.
Oh, I've not heard that one before, but that does. It makes complete and utter sense. But sometimes I always think, well, I'm the common denominator, so it has to be me.
Yeah, and it's really a growth place to be able to acknowledge that and know that rather than staying in what I call the victim energy of, well, it's this person or this thing and this is why and all of that, not as helpful for our growth.
It isn't, but it takes a lot of strength for somebody to be able to do that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Strength, healing, clearing old patterns. A lot of that, I feel like, and I'm sure you know this too, with your work, all of your work, is a lot of that victimhood is inherited. It's not even ours. It's stuff that we've brought in. Of course, we attract more of it, but it's things from the past lives and generational that we bring in and then we ironically attract more of what we don't want.
And it's also that thing, when we're like 2 or 3 years old and we're looking around and we're seeing how adults behave. So we think that's how an adult behaves. So when we get older, we think, oh, we need to behave that way. So it's cultural as well. There's so many different aspects. And that's what I love about our work is that we are looking and harmonizing all of that without having to pick it apart.
Yes, I love that. I love your outlook on all of this. I'm curious, what is something that about healing or energy work that you think more people need to understand but don't?
I think that if people could realize that the body naturally has the capacity to heal itself and that it isn't something way beyond their reach and only ever happens to somebody else, I think that would be the key. If people could really see that, if they could recognize that actually finding that inner peace within themselves, it would unravel the tension, the tightness, so that the body could start to come better into its own equilibrium. And
Mhm.
it's never too late. It's never too late for the change. I had somebody yesterday and they were 35, I think. And they said, oh, it's probably too late for me to start trying to heal myself now, isn't it? And I was like, no. I said, I've got people in their 80s that are doing this work. No. It's not, but it's interesting because there's this whole age side. Oh, I can't do that because of my age or things like that. And so that's why I say if people could really recognize the strength and the power they've got within themselves in a balanced way.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Agree. And I also feel like this is changing, but a lot of us in the first half of our life, at least, not realizing that. And it's in those later years that we're like, oh, now I understand. And I do see younger folks really grasping this concept more and more, which really is, it's inspiring to see.
It is.
That people are more understanding that piece more and more. But I feel like in myself, I feel like I was a late bloomer in all that. And, it is a journey because I know for those of us maybe had a lot of struggles that did things the long way, the hard way, that equips us to better understand where people are coming from as well.
I think it gives you an empathy. It gives you that understanding, which you can't. It's not the fact that you have to go through the struggle in order to be able to help somebody, but it is about being able to understand and stay in a place of non-judgment. And I think, well, does that come with age? I'm not sure sometimes that it does.
Uh, that's true. That's true. I think what it really comes with is doing this deep inner work ourselves.
I agree, actually. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I love the work that we do because we do get to dive in. We do get to work on our own things as well. And because when we heal, it heals others.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I noticed is that as I've worked on myself, my son, my grandson, my family members, they're all shifting and changing. They've done the work. I've been the one doing the work, but they're shifting and changing. And I'm like, does that work then? But them changing then lifts my energy even more because I'm not having to be there in the same way that I was. So it's interesting. So is it me doing the change and then reacting to me differently? Is it the fact that I'm showing up differently and they're going, oh, I'm going to emulate that? I don't know, but that's the interesting thing about energy.
It is. And I think it's all of it because, I mean, literally, we're raising our vibration. So they are responding differently to that higher vibration as well. So I know, this part of my mission is literally to raise the vibration of the planet and doing that with coaches like yourself, healers like yourself who are doing this deep work with people is one of those ways and giving you tools to do that even deeper. So anyway, I've got another question. If you could go back to your earlier self, maybe the version of you before the paradigm shift method. What would
Mhm.
you say? What would you say to her?
Relax, that you've got it, that, even though I found you because I was searching, but in a sense, it would be, stop and just be and see what's coming towards you rather than thinking you're having to keep looking around. My family, they call me, because we have this thing about animals, and they say I'm a meerkat because if I hear a sound or anything, and I'm like looking around and like, what am I missing? So I fell back and I would just say, relax, love. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All is well. All is
Or,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I have enjoyed this conversation so much with you, Amanda. And I know our listeners have as well. What is a good way to connect with you? So I know you've got a meditation. Can you tell
I
us a little
have,
bit about it?
yes. So I did just, it's not a long meditation, but wanted to do something because negative thoughts, they spiral and the world is the way that the world is. There's always something going on, but we can find ourselves very much caught in that doom and gloom of everything. So I wanted to do a little meditation just to help us to release those that have got caught in with our system from us, from our ancestors, things that we've absorbed when we didn't have the understanding when we were small. And so that also that we can activate into feeling that much more calmer. So I wanted to just give people that because you can listen to it sort of like once a week. Each time you listen, it takes you down through that next layer of imbalances. And it's just, I always feel that if we've got something in our own toolbox, in our own life that we can call upon just to clear some of that heaviness, it gives us chance to be able to intuitively start to know what it is that we need to do next.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that we have a link to that meditation in our show notes, and so that our listeners can tap into that. So thank you for that. Very valuable. And thank you again so much for being on today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to actually express how I feel about your training. And I know this isn't about your training, but it also is because it did bring in so many different aspects and has allowed me to expand in my own intuition in a way that I would never have dreamt possible. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And thank you so much again for being on. Thanks for tuning in to the Awaken Impact podcast. If today's episode resonated, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's ready to rise. You can learn more about the Paradigm Shift Method at kimberlylebbing.com or connect with me on my YouTube channel at Kimberly Lebbing. Until next time, keep leading the way.